So I recently went to go see the Oscar-nominated documentary shorts, and this is a first time for me seeing documentary shorts. Hell, this is only the second year I've started seeing shorts in general, so thank you to everyone who's watched this short series so far. And so, yeah, I went to go see this, and there are a lot of interesting shorts this year in the documentary section. They were longer than I expected, but nonetheless, there was some really interesting content. Now, the way I'm going to be judging these shorts in this video is I'm going to be judging them based on the topics that were presented and how interesting those topics were and the way, they made them special and unique. So, and it's also going to be rated on, how I feel about this. So, don't take this too hardly if you really liked one short and I didn't like it as much, let's say. So without further ado, starting off at number 5, we have Heaven is a Traffic Jam on the 405. Now this is a short that talks about this woman who has anxiety and depression and who's an artist in Los Angeles, and the way her art is kind of therapeutic for her in a sense, and how her family history really affected her. Now this one, I can relate to this one when it comes to anxiety and depression in a sense, but the way it was overall presented felt like, I don't know, it just presented itself in kind of the least interesting way possible. Despite the fact that the art was kind of creative, I just wasn't really invested in the woman who was speaking for her. Not that her story was boring or anything, but it just really just didn't connect for some reason. I don't know. For anyone who hasn't seen this short, in the shorts film run at your local theater, you can catch this one on YouTube from IndieWire's YouTube channel. So if you want to see this short, it's on there. But otherwise, I thought this was one of the weaker ones, that was provided. Again, it wasn't terrible, but just the subject matter and the way it was presented really it just didn't click for some reason. Alright, number 4 is Heroin. Now, this one is kind of self-explanatory. It's about the heroin crisis in, the U.S., especially in Huntington, West Virginia. But what's unique about this one, it's about the women that are involved, in trying to help people in the heroin crisis. Hence the title of the film, which is actually spelled heroin, but in parentheses with an E in it, highlighting, the term heroin and, that the drug and the female femme fatale. But anyhow, I felt the title was very clever, and the overall it was really well done. It's just that what made me had this at such a low ranking compared to everything else is that I've seen plenty of documentaries about drugs on TV and online. So I feel like there's kind of an oversaturation of this, but the the uniqueness of this short I think really helps to stand it out from other ones. Now this one's on Netflix. If you don't get a chance to see it in theaters, so yeah, that for all you people who are interested in this kind of subject, it's available right then and there. So yeah, this one was pretty good. Alright, number 3 we have, Traffic Stop. Now this one is kind of intense. So it's about a woman in Austin, Texas back in 2015 who is a school teacher but who gets pulled over by a cop for speeding, and it's about kind of a brutality incident that goes on, and it's all caught on video, and it's about kind of from her perspective. Now I was seeing this with someone in the audience, and they said, oh, what about the cop's perspective? Where's his? And to my response, I was kind of like, this wasn't really about the cops, to tell you the truth. I mean, we get some insight about what goes on at a police station, but really it's about this one woman's story and about her experience with it. So it's like we don't need to hear necessarily both sides all the time. And, the way they handle this, I really was, informed about what goes on in this country when it comes to the police's relationship with minorities and especially female minorities. It was just absolutely gut-wrenching to say the least. Now this one's going to be on HBO in March of this year as of this recording, so if you want to wait till then to see it, then you can catch it then. But yeah, so yeah, I would recommend seeing this one for sure. It was very powerful. Alright, number 2 is Edith and Eddie. Now this focuses on an old biracial couple in Virginia. When I mean old, I mean like 96 and 95. And it's about how one of them has dementia and has to be separated from her husband to go to Florida. This one I think really resonates with me, as I have a grandparent who's in a nursing home and who's pretty old. But I mean, and it just the connection with that is pretty strong. And the fact that that they that the couple itself is so, you know, delightful to look at, and you know, their story is so interesting and so relevant, like a topic of, like, you know, ageism and, you know, the way old people are treated in this country. I think is just, you know, like barely anyone talks about it. I think the fact that a film like this, you know, really dives into subject matter is really, you know, interesting, and I would definitely highly recommend it. It's one of the more lighthearted, you know, subject matters, despite the fact that the ending is really depressing. But I think that my number one favorite short film from the documentary section had to be Knife Skills. Now, when it comes to Knife Skills, this one, I didn't know what it was going to be about originally, but it turns out it's about, you know, former inmates from like Ohio who work at this French restaurant as kind of a rehabilitation, and it's run by a guy who, like, you know, almost went to jail. And I feel like this one, you know, again, there are plenty of documentaries about, you know, prisoners trying to go to rehab, but this one I feel like, you know, really, you know, was not only unique, but I felt like it was very, you know, heartwarming and very, you know, I don't know how else to feel. It's like, I guess, savory to say the least. Like Knife Skills, it definitely came out of nowhere for sure, but this one was really, you know, one of my favorites. Definitely of the night. I mean, it didn't feel that long, to tell you the truth. Like a lot of the other shorts felt like you could feel the length in them, but Knife Skills, you could just, like, you know, I could keep watching. If this is like an hour and a half movie, I would definitely pay money to see it for sure. So yeah, quick thoughts of what I think is gonna win Best Documentary Short. It's probably gonna be Heroine, because, you know, not only have the strong female personas in that, you know, documentary, but it's also about a very relevant topic, which comes to drugs. But of course, I would like Knife Skills to win, or Edith and Eddie, or really even Traffic Stop. I would like those, either one of those three to win. So guys, have you seen any of these shorts? What do you think of them? Let me know in the comments down below. And till again, this is Intermission Reviews signing off.